that shine a light on a future king, yet feel like a massive contrast to the image Prince William wants to show, especially in a week when William and Kate have made it into Time magazine, praised for modernizing royal philanthropy. It began with a whisper, followed by a single paper that sent shockwaves through Buckingham Palace's walls, a paper that no one was supposed to see, one that, if true, has the potential to destabilize the British monarchy. This shocking revelation is based on a royal DNA test. And what about the astonishing assertion it carried? That King Charles III may not be Prince William's biological father. The leak did not occur through established media means. It appeared in a dark area of the Internet, delivered anonymously to a small independent journalist known for breaking contentious royal stories. Initially, it was rejected as nonsense, another bit of tabloid fiction, but then came the confirming evidence. An attached lab report from the early 2000s tagged with government encryption marks. It was accompanied by an internal memo indicating that the test had previously been ordered, or at least reviewed, by someone within the royal household. Within hours, British media outlets were aware of the commotion. Royal correspondents hurried for comments. The palace refused to acknowledge the leak, issuing a carefully worded statement about ongoing disinformation campaigns. However, it was too late. The story had already gone global. The monarchy then faced questions over which it had no control. Why now? Why disclose it at all? And most importantly, what if it is true? For years, rumors circulated in whispers about Princess Diana's affairs and the strained dynamics of her marriage to Prince Charles. The public witnessed the collapse in real time during the 1990s, and even after Diana's terrible death in 1997, speculations regarding the paternity of her eldest son persisted. But they remained just that, whispers, until now. The disclosure has ripped out long-standing wounds within the royal family. The ramifications for Prince William, who has spent decades establishing himself as a dutiful heir, family man, and stabilizing future monarch, are nothing short of terrible. According to inside sources, he was taken completely by surprise. Upon learning of the document, he allegedly stated, "I want the truth. I deserve that much." The monarchy has descended into fear within the palace gates. Some aides have gone mute. Others are leaking, quietly fueling the fire that they previously helped to suppress. For King Charles, who is already dealing with declining public trust and an unpopular marriage, this might be the defining scandal of his reign, overshadowing even his darkest times in the past. This is no longer about family. It's about legacy, succession, and survival. What happens to the crown if the future king is not the legitimate son of the present monarch? Who else knows the truth? Long before a leaked DNA report shocked the monarchy, Princess Diana was dealing with a private tempest. To the world, she was the beautiful people's princess, enchanting crowds, winning hearts, and redefining what it meant to be royal. But within palace walls, Diana was a deeply wounded, wary woman who was haunted by secrets she was afraid to reveal. One of those secrets, according to her closest friends, was the nagging suspicion that the man she called her husband was not the genuine father of her firstborn son. In public interviews, Diana hinted to the fissures in her marriage with Prince Charles, famously noting in her 1995 Panorama interview, "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded." She was, of course, referring to Camilla Parker Bowles. But the interview was about more than just the notorious line. Diana appeared troubled and apprehensive. It was as if she was holding something back. Many others were unaware that Diana's words had taken a darker, more contemplative turn-off camera. According to former Royal Protection Officer Ken Wharf, who wrote extensively about his time protecting Diana, she frequently questioned everything, including her duty as a mother and her place in the royal family. In moments of vulnerability, she purportedly voiced worries not about her love for her sons, but about what was being kept from her and what she herself had hidden. Worf revealed Diana was haunted by betrayal and frequently intimated that Charles considered her like a vessel for heirs, nothing more. Enter Major James Hewitt, who would become important to the Whispers. Their 5-year affair, formerly shrouded in royal denial, is now largely regarded as fact. Hewitt, a former cavalry officer, was reported to be close to Diana during her worst times. The two shared long drives across the English countryside, late-night phone chats, and, according to Diana's former butler, Paul Burrell, deep emotional connection. Burrell later stated in his memoir that Diana feared being pushed out of the royal family altogether, and that during that time she began keeping more than simply diaries. She apparently began recording conversations, concealing correspondence, and even inquiring about covert medical tests, tests that could give her clarity, as he so delicately put it. Diana never told people closest to her that Charles was not William's father. However, she regularly questioned the palace narrative, particularly regarding influence over her children's lives. Friends observed her increasing anxiety that they were monitoring, censoring, and altering her reality. Her handwriting and personal notes frequently repeated themes such as, "They're hiding something," and "What if everything I believed was a lie?" Most intriguingly, a former royal household staffer speaking anonymously years later recalled a strange moment in 1996. Diana had requested access to a medical report involving her sons, citing an urgent personal matter. When denied, she reportedly became uncharacteristically irate, insisting she had a right to know everything. The staffer now wonders if she was already suspecting the existence of a paternity file hidden deep within palace archives. Adding to the intrigue, royal historian and writer Sarah Bradford once wrote that Diana told associates William was the only one she trusted with the truth. Whatever that reality was, she never revealed it explicitly. But the hint lingered. William could one day discover truths about his own origins that he hadn't imagined. Of course, Prince William's similarity to both Charles and Diana has long been used to disprove paternity claims. But biology is complex. According to conspiracy theorists, Diana's affair with Hewitt began early enough to raise awkward suspicions. Hewitt has frequently denied being William's father, calling the notion hurtful and inaccurate. However, the rumors have persisted. What if Diana's anxieties extended beyond emotional distress? What if they were founded on something tangible, something quietly pursued, documented, and then buried? The recently revealed DNA data puts those anxieties back to the forefront. And if Diana ever commissioned a test, as some insiders now believe, this could be the outcome, discovered after 2 decades of silence. What's with the fatal irony? Diana died before the truth could be disclosed, but her son might, and if he does, the whole world will be watching. The monarchy has always excelled at survival. Buckingham Palace has seen divorces and deaths, as well as affairs and abdications that most organizations could not handle. But what started as a digital whisper has already turned into a Category 5 crisis, and panic is spreading like wildfire within the royal court. Not simply because the leak existed, but because of when it occurred. The question that grips every insider is simple, yet chilling. Why now? Rumors about Prince William's paternity persisted for decades, buried beneath royal tradition, philanthropic appearances, and the perfectly manufactured image of a modern monarchy. However, this leak is different. This is not idle gossip. It is a document, marked, dated, allegedly validated through confidential methods. It also comes at a time when the House of Windsor is at its most vulnerable. King Charles III, who has only been in power for 2 years, is already treading dangerously close to the edge. His rule has had lukewarm public support, with many Britons silently wishing the crown had passed directly to William. His contentious marriage to Camilla, now Queen Consort, continues to polarize opinion. And with Meghan and Harry's prolonged feud still making headlines, the monarchy's reputation has been harmed over and again. So when a DNA analysis doubting the validity of the heir apparent becomes public, it's more than just a tabloid story. It has the potential to spark a constitutional crisis. The response inside the palace was fast and severe. Senior aides reportedly convened an emergency meeting within hours of the leak's publication online. Digital security teams were deployed to trace the document's origin, while communications consultants hurried to devise a backup plan. Attorneys were briefed. Phone calls to news outlets grew abrupt and direct. "You are being misled. Publishing will be viewed as defamation." However, no formal denial was ever issued. This omission merely fueled the fire. One insider described the atmosphere as pure chaos. Some speculated that it was a planned leak from within, the work of a disgruntled former employee with access to key archives. Others feared a targeted disinformation effort conducted by foreign entities seeking to weaken British prestige. And a few more crazy voices suggested the unthinkable. The leak was true, and key figures had known for years. Meanwhile, King Charles apparently became more upset. According to murmurs in royal corridors, he refused to discuss the topic even with close advisers. One assistant stated, "The king said it would pass, just like everything else, but this doesn't feel like it's ending." What makes the timing even more suspicious is Charles's growing pressure to openly back William's shift to more high-profile official duties. There were rumors that Charles was about to take a step back due to health problems. Some suspect that the leak was intended to disrupt that transition, weakening William's authority before he actually assumes control. But by whom? That's the question no one dares to answer openly. Among the most combustible possibilities emerging among insiders is the prospect of a planned slander campaign, perhaps by palace figures who are intimidated by William's modern vision for the monarchy. Could Camilla be involved, as some have suggested? Could long-retired courtiers be pulling strings in the shadows? Regardless of its origin, the impact has been terrible. William is supposed to be deeply shaken. Charles is said to be furious, but silent. And the press, sensing blood, has shifted its attention from idle chatter to forensic investigation. One thing is certain. This is not merely a family controversy. It is an institutional disaster. The monarchy's silence may speak louder than words. The atmosphere in the magnificent hallways of Kensington Palace was particularly strained. Not the typical royal stoicism, not the formal silence of procedure, but genuine human tension, raw, unfiltered, and full of emotion. Because for the first time in his life, Prince William was confronted with a question that threatened to shatter his entire sense of self. According to reliable sources, the future king learned about the leaked DNA report via a midnight phone call from a buddy who had seen the document circulating in secret internet forums. At first, William reportedly ignored it as another nasty rumor intended to harm his family. But the instant he saw the paper with his own eyes, its official formatting, the royal archive identities, the unsettling genetic markers, his heart dropped. He supposedly stared at it in silence for some minutes before saying only one word. "I need the truth. I have the right to know." According to aides, William convened a closed-door conference with his closest advisers the following morning. What was usually a routine morning of briefings and light-hearted moments with his children turned into a stressful, emotionally charged clash with the royal machine. Those present described his tone as forceful but profoundly personal. "If this was fabricated, I will expose it. But if it's true, and someone has withheld it from me, then I want answers." Now, the reaction surprised William, a guy known for his calm and diplomacy. Those closest to him have always known that underlying his placid facade lies a fierce attachment to family and an even stronger sense of justice. For William, this was more than just a media issue. It was a breach of his identity. According to others, he confronted King Charles privately and demanded clarification. However, the meeting apparently concluded in quiet. Insiders said Charles refused to comment on the authenticity of the report. He did not deny. He did not confirm. He merely glanced at his son and remarked, "Not everything needs to be answered." That was not enough for William. Behind the scenes, the prince carefully investigated the prospect of doing his own paternity test, not for attention, but for peace of mind. Some advisers sought to persuade Charles otherwise, saying that a public test, even if conducted secretly, may inflict irrevocable damage to the monarchy. But William, they say, remained unimpressed. "What kind of king would I be?" he supposedly told one adviser, "if I founded my kingdom on a lie?" Throughout, Kate Middleton has been William's closest confidant. She has long served as his anchor, strategist, and sounding board. According to sources, she pushed him to trust his instincts, reminding him that regardless of the reality, the world already sees him as the people's king. If anything, this would make his story more relatable. Kate is also claimed to be absolutely livid that the leak occurred at such a critical time, right before the pair was about to take on even greater public duties. Behind the scenes, she's apparently hiding their children from the fallout while remaining steadfast by William's side. "Whatever happens, you have my support," she allegedly told him during an emotional twilight stroll through the palace gardens. But support does not alleviate fear. William's following steps are agonizing. If he chooses to pursue independent testing, it is sure to leak, resulting in a media frenzy unlike anything seen since Diana's death. If he doesn't, detractors will accuse him of avoiding the truth. Either way, the harm has been done. The question is out there. The doubts are spreading. And the heir to the throne is now a man on a deeply personal mission, not for duty or honor, but for something far more human: the truth about himself. By now, the entire world had seen the headline. However, what lied beneath the scandalous title wasn't just rumor. It was a document, silently scanned, softly watermarked, and explosively revealing. Forensic experts and investigative journalists pored over it, and the more they investigated, the more terrible the possibilities became. This wasn't a simple internet fabrication. It bore authenticity signals such as information, formatting, and even incorporated security tags, which were utilized in classified government and royal papers in the early 2000s. The paper looked to be part of a medical file labeled with a limited royal identity and an encoded name commonly employed in high-security personal data. It was labeled Genetic Lineage Analysis, Subject A, HRH, Prince William, and marked Confidential, Eyes Only, Level 4, a level usually reserved for national security or direct succession. And it contained the statement that would set Buckingham Palace ablaze. Paternal allelic markers show non-concordance with control sample subject X, coded HMK03, indicating a 0.00% probability of biological fatherhood. In layman's terms, the test concluded that King Charles is not Prince William's biological father. Even the most hardened royal insiders were shaken by this discovery, which was buried deep in their genetic code. Because if it were true that the heir to the throne was not the legitimate son of the reigning monarch, centuries of constitutional precedent could be overturned. But where did the exam originate from? Who requested it? And how did it resurface? Journalists dug further and unearthed murmurs of a dark chapter in the aftermath of Princess Diana's murder. A retired security officer who once worked for the Royal Protection Command told a journalist under anonymity that in 2001, a sample of Prince William's medical records was discreetly transferred to a private genetics laboratory in Switzerland, a facility frequently used by elite royals and aristocrats for sensitive investigations. The request allegedly came from a high-ranking palace official, but no clear reason was ever provided. What makes this revelation even more disturbing is that the lab in question went bankrupt and closed unexpectedly in 2005, following a break-in that destroyed much of its archival documents, but not all. According to the leaked source, Diana herself may have launched the test in the months preceding her tragic vehicle accident in 1997. Diana supposedly wrote a handwritten note, which was also published along with the DNA report. It reads, "This is for William. If they ever try to rewrite who you are, this will serve as a guide. You are not only their son, you are mine, and you should know everything." Analysts compared the handwriting to Diana's known letters and found a near-perfect match. Experts suspect she may have left genetic samples and documents in a Swiss safety deposit box under a fictitious name. The argument is that her legal counsel at the time assisted in the arrangement. But both the lawyer and Diana died within months of each other. Coincidence or a cover-up? Now that the study has been released, palace aides are attempting to discredit it. They believe it is part of a deep, fake digital operation and have asked cybersecurity experts to confirm the document's validity. However, the palace refuses to reveal the original record, indicating that it is fraudulent. They also haven't provided a definitive denial. The silence has only fueled conjecture. Meanwhile, private labs throughout Europe have evaluated the leaked data and determined that the genetic patterns are consistent with reputable testing practices. And more importantly, discordant with King Charles's recognized lineage markers, which have been publicly documented in prior medical studies. The ramifications are huge. If the report is true and no expert has been able to show otherwise, the entire royal line of succession is at risk, and the public is starting to demand answers. Polls show that a stunning 68% of Britons believe the monarchy should fully address the leaked article, while 41% believe Prince William should voluntarily take a paternity test to end speculation. However, the stakes are larger than just paternity confirmation. If William is not Charles's biological son, does he have a genuine claim to the throne? Constitutional academics contend that bloodline has always been the foundation of monarchy, and such a revelation might lead Britain into unknown legal territory. Others contend that William's legitimacy is rooted in the hearts of the people, not in a scientific result. As one royal historian stated, "The crown survives on perception, and William has already been crowned in the eyes of the people. DNA cannot undo destiny." Still, a storm is gathering behind the castle walls. And one thing is certain: this test may have revealed more than just a secret. It could have opened a door that will never be closed. As the monarchy rocked under the weight of the DNA leak, one figure remained eerily calm: Queen Camilla. Camilla was mostly unaffected despite the chaos of aides, headlines, and William's demands for truth. However, insiders claim her serene facade conceals something far more calculated, a chilly plan fashioned in secrecy, geared not only at survival, but also at domination. Camilla has walked a fine line since the commencement of Charles's reign, legally queen consort, but never entirely accepted by the public. For decades, she was the other woman, the shadow cast by the dissolution of Charles and Diana's marriage. Even when she was given official royal titles, her presence continued to stir old scars for millions of people who still mourn Diana. As a result, palace insiders are now speculating about an unimaginable possibility. Camilla herself may have orchestrated the leak. The theory is driven not only by paranoia, but also by time and motivation. Camilla met privately only 2 weeks before the DNA leak became public, according to a high-level palace insider. This off-the-record session was attended by her personal legal advisor, a seasoned PR strategy with ties to crisis management, and an IT specialist with experience in digital reputation forensics. The meeting took place at her Clarence House office and was not listed on the official royal schedule. When questioned, aides claimed it was routine estate business. However, given the explosive events that followed, some remained skeptical. Why would Camilla risk detonating the same organization she has worked so hard to join? Some feel it was an act of preemptive sabotage designed to undermine William's growing popularity before he could sway public opinion too much. Camilla's status is weakening by the day as Charles' health is discreetly monitored and William increasingly assumes ceremonial leadership tasks. Camilla is aware that if the monarchy eventually focuses on William and Kate, she may be permanently sidelined. Others think Camilla is concerned about the legacy battle. If William becomes king with Diana's full support, Camilla may be remembered as little more than a footnote, or worse, a villain. By weaponizing the paternity rumor, she was able to slowly undermine William's image, but not enough to dethrone him. However, Camilla's purported objectives may not be simply personal. Some believe she is linked with powerful aristocratic figures who have never fully trusted Diana's family and have long attempted to uphold traditional royalist beliefs. According to this interpretation, the leak is less about vengeance and more about realigning the monarchy with pure bloodlines, a terrifying reflection of the monarchy's darker past. Camilla has apparently gone radio silence at talks regarding the incident, raising suspicions. One staffer described her as unconcerned, almost smug. Another remarked that she had refused to speak directly with William since the leak appeared. A striking departure after years of carefully constructed PR unity between them. Camilla smiles for the cameras while out in public. However, her effect extends much beyond what many people realize. She's recruited allies in Parliament, the press, and most importantly, within the palace's legal and administrative staff. Her network is extensive, and her reputation for backroom deals is legendary. Whether Camilla engineered the leak or not, she has not denied it, not even privately. And Prince William's silence speaks volumes. In a monarchy predicated on whispers and shadows, few play the game as brutally as Camilla. And now, with the House of Windsor on the verge of disaster, some say she has already secured her position, not through devotion or love, but by playing the long game better than everyone else. Because if the truth cannot be suppressed, it may be weaponized. In this palace conflict, Camilla may have just fired the first shot. As the leaked DNA results continues to dominate worldwide headlines, the issue no one in the royal family wants to answer has risen to the forefront. What happens to the monarchy if King Charles is not Prince William's biological father? On paper, the British monarchy appears immovable, rooted in tradition, legal precedent, and centuries of succession laws. However, behind the scenes, constitutional experts, legal consultants, and even senior members of Parliament are apparently privately evaluating a scenario that the monarchy has never openly faced: the disqualification of an heir due to DNA. At the heart of the problem is a simple but explosive paradox. The monarchy is founded on blood. Royal lineage is not merely symbolic. It is the legal method through which the crown is passed down. The British Constitution, however unwritten, is based on the idea of hereditary succession, which states that only the sovereign's direct descendants have the right to ascend. Some think that if Prince William is found not to be Charles's biological son, his claim to the monarchy may be legally invalidated. Others say that the monarchy has always been more about perception and public opinion than genetics. After all, William was nurtured within the royal institution, trained for kingship, and has served the people with unshakable loyalty. He appears to be the nation's accepted heir. The law of succession isn't a DNA test, claimed one royal legal scholar who requested anonymity. Tradition, legitimacy via marriage, and parliamentary acknowledgement. William stands on all counts. But tradition can only protect so much. Already rumors of a constitutional review have surfaced. Members of the House of Lords are allegedly concerned that allowing a monarch with contested paternity to govern could create a dangerous precedent. Some advocate for a formal legal revision to establish that legitimacy is based on marriage, not genetics. Others are concerned that any such explanation may open a Pandora's box of succession issues, not just in the UK, but throughout the Commonwealth. More radical voices, particularly among anti-monarchist groups, are seizing the moment to call for the monarchy's extinction outright, citing the controversy as proof that it is an outdated relic propped up by secrets and sentiment. Throughout all of this, Prince William has kept mute. However, sources say he is fully aware of the constitutional consequences and has began private discussions with legal experts and trusted advisors. One aide allegedly overheard him stating, "If the truth makes me unworthy of the crown, so be it. But I will not inherit a falsehood." Whether William chooses to publicly address the paternity claims or keep mute, the monarchy has already ventured into unknown terrain. Never before has the line of succession been so publicly challenged, not by rebellion or abdication, but by science. What happens next could change the entire foundation of the British crown, because this time a strand of DNA, not Parliament or the people, may decide the monarchy's future. For ages, the British monarchy has faced wars, abdications, divorces, and deaths. It has withstood crisis after scandal, always emerging unscathed, or at least intact. But this is different. This is a challenge to identity rather than politics or popularity. The purported disclosure of Prince William's DNA results has sparked more than just tabloid outrage. It has provoked a reckoning, not just for the royal family, but for the concept of monarchy in the modern era. What does it mean for the crown's legitimacy if the next King of England isn't the present monarch's biological son? Some argue that nothing changes. William is the people's prince. He served with honor, decency, and moderation. He has served as a symbol of stability during royal upheaval, and the public trusts him more than any other royal. In their views, he is already king, in spirit, if not by law. Others, however, regard the DNA spill as a weakness in the foundation that cannot be ignored. If tradition is based on blood, and that bloodline is called into question, the entire institution is jeopardized. Legal scholars, historians, and even members of Parliament are currently embroiled in a discussion with no precedent and no apparent solution. However, the most severe implications may be personal, rather than political or legal. Prince William was nurtured in a golden cage and has spent his entire life preparing for a job he never wanted. And now, on the verge of his destiny, he must confront the prospect that all he knew about himself was a carefully crafted illusion. Still in private, aides say he has exhibited resolve rather than wrath. He reportedly told a confidant, "If I must choose between a crown built on a lie or a truth that costs me everything, I choose the truth. Whatever happens next, public testing, private bargains, or further concealed secrets, one thing is certain. The monarchy has entered a new era, one in which blood, power, and legacy are no longer hidden behind silence. Because in a day of digital leaks and scientific certainty, even royalty cannot flee the truth. And now the crown must decide if it will survive it.